We're winding down chapter 39 of A Little History of the World. It's almost the end of the book. I kind of stopped abruptly in the last video because I realized that this is a part that should be read on its own, because I would have to cut off in the middle of it. There is one more chapter of the book after this one, so probably 2 more videos, and we'll begin. Imagine time as a river, and that we are flying high above it in an aeroplane. Far below, you can just make out the mountain caves of the mammoth hunters, and the steppes where the first cereals grew. Those distant dots are the pyramids in the Tower of Babel. In these lowlands the Jews once tended their flocks. This is the sea the Phoenicians sailed across. What looks like a white star shining over there with the sea on either side is in fact the Acropolis, the symbol of Greek art. And there, on the other side of the world, are the great dark forests where the Indian penitents withdrew to meditate, and the Buddha experienced enlightenment. Now we can see the Great Wall of China, and over there the smoldering ruins of Carthage. In those great gigantic stone funnels the Romans watched Christians being torn to pieces by wild beasts. The dark clouds on the horizon are the storm clouds of the migrations, and it was in those forests beside the river that the first monks converted and educated the Germanic tribes. Leaving the deserts over there behind them, the Arabs set out to conquer the world. And this is where Charlemagne ruled. On this hill the fortress still stands, where the struggle between the Pope and the Emperor over which of them was to dominate the world was finally decided. We can see castles from the age of chivalry, and nearer still, cities with beautiful cathedrals, and over there is Florence, and there is the new St. Peter's, the cause of Luther's quarrel with the Church. The city of Mexico is on fire. The invincible Armada is being wrecked off England's coasts. That dense pall of smoke comes from burning villages and the bonfires on which people were burnt during the 30 Years' War. The magnificent chateau set in the great park is Louis XIV's Palace of Versailles. Here are the Turks encamped outside Vienna, and nearer still the simple castles of Frederick the Great and Maria Theresa. In the distance, the cries of liberty, equality, fraternity reach us from the streets of Paris, and we can already see Moscow burning over there, and the wintry land in which the soldiers of the last conqueror's Grand Army perished. Getting nearer, we can see smoke rising from factory chimneys and hear the whistle of railway trains. The Peking Summer Palace lies in ruins, and warships are leaving Japanese ports under the flag of the rising sun. Here the guns of the World War are still thundering. Poison gas is drifting across the land, and over there, through the open dome of an observatory, a giant telescope directs the gaze of an astronomer toward unimaginably distant galaxies. But below us and in front of us there is nothing but mist, mist that is dense and impenetrable. All we know is that the river flows onward, on and on it goes, toward an unknown sea. But now let us quickly drop down in our plane toward the river. From close up we can see it is a real river, with rippling waves like the sea. A strong wind is blowing, and there are little crests of foam on the waves. Look carefully at the millions of shimmering white bubbles rising and then vanishing with each wave. Over and over again new bubbles come to the surface and then vanish in time with the waves. For a brief instant they are lifted on the wave's crest, and then they sink down and are seen no more. We are like that. Each one of us no more than a tiny glimmering thing, a sparkling droplet on the waves of time which flow past beneath us into an unknown misty future. We leap up, look around us. Before we know it, we vanish again. We can hardly be seen in the great river of time. New drops keep rising to the surface, and what we call our fate is no more than our struggle in the great multitude of droplets in the rise and fall of one wave, but we must make use of that moment. It is worth the effort. And that is the end of chapter 39.